Hello and welcome to another Elite Audio video, and today we are going to be reviewing the long-awaited Eversolo AMP-F2, and that brings the very important question: are Eversolo a one-trick pony with their streamers, or have they literally pulled a rabbit out of the hat with the AMP-F2? To find out, stay tuned, all is about to be revealed. I think it would be fair to say you would have to be living under a rock to not have heard about Eversolo, or indeed notice the fact that they are dominating almost every segment of the streamer market they're involved in, and it's certainly gaining a lot of momentum across social media. I personally follow a lot of the Eversolo forums on Facebook and so on, and there is a lot of interest and a lot of very happy clients out there. So I guess for many it was no great surprise when Eversolo announced they would be bringing out a digital, well, a Class D based amplifier, power amplifier only, to complement their existing streamer range. And here we have in the flesh the long-awaited Eversolo AMP-F2. Eversolo also have very cleverly launched this amplifier at a price virtually identical to the A6 streamer. It's slightly more expensive in the UK, about £30 sterling, so it's £789. You have a 145 watt Class D power amplifier that is fully balanced. Now, if you add that to the A6 as I would say as a really attractive looking package, you end up at £1,548. You could then add something like a pair of Revival Audio Sprint 3 stand mounts, so for round about £2,500 you have, I would say, the makings of a remarkable system. Now let's look a little bit more in depth to the AMP-F2. It uses the NS600 module. Now that's something I hadn't heard of before, I'll be quite honest, and it is designed by Stark Sound, who are based in America. Now if you go onto the Stark Sound website, you can see they are a company that were established in 2009. Primarily they've developed a whole range of loudspeakers, but also amplifiers, primarily aimed at audiophiles, and this NS600 module that is in the AMP-F2 was co-designed between Eversolo and Stark Sound. Now this really shows that Eversolo wish to bring in expertise that gives their products, I would say, a competitive advantage. And from the listening sessions that I have done with the AMP-F2, I've got to say I am really impressed by it. It has depth and scale. You can crank the volume up exceptionally high and there is basically no distortion, which really comes back to one of the key elements that this NS600 Stark Sound module brings to the party, if you want to call it. It is, I would say it's quite a party indeed. It's one that really takes you by surprise. As I said earlier, 145 watts into 8 ohms. Now you can bridge these, so you can run two of these AMP-F2s in bridged mono mode. That gives you about an extra 40 watts or so into 8 ohms. Not a huge price increase, but I guess it's still more power. You're only going to use one of the 600 watt based power supplies per channel, and that should in theory give you quite a bit of additional dynamic headroom. And certainly in the testing that we did, the additional amplifier did provide that additional headroom. However, I've got to say, just on its own, this AMP-F2 is impressive. If you look at the build quality, again, it has all the hallmarks of the Eversolo brand, so they have not cut any corners whatsoever in the build. It matches beautifully with the A6 series in terms of its physical width, and you may have seen photographs of the two stacked on top of each other. Not a way I would suggest using it, and in fact, when you look at our video, you'll see we have them placed side by side, and it's a very smart looking and stylish setup, I have to say. The amp is deeper than the Streamer, which is to be expected because of the fact that it's a power amplifier and it takes up more real estate. One thing that I did notice when I was looking at the rear of the device, it has got some very impressive looking binding posts. They don't look cheap, and in further investigation it turns out they are beryllium copper composite binding posts, again designed by Stark Sound in America. So I like this collaborative aspect of Eversolo, that they have no hesitation in why is it I always get tongue-tied doing these videos? They have no hesitation in reaching out to experts in their field to utilise their incredible knowledge, because what they want to produce is the best sounding equipment that they can. So, and let's get on to the sound, because ultimately this is the part that most of you will be interested in, and I can tell you now, no one buying this amplifier will be disappointed. It is just for the money a remarkable piece of equipment. It really doesn't sound at its price point. If I was doing a blind test and somebody said to me, this amplifier costs, you know, let's pick an arbitrary figure out there, £2,000, I wouldn't question that price tag. And again, this is a reflection on how Eversolo have really gone about trying to provide the best value for money components that you can currently buy. And honestly, without really overstating the fact, if I put this together as a little system with the Sprint 3s that I mentioned, in fact, we use the Wharfedale, Dovedale speakers as the main test, and they're not inexpensive, they're £5,500. But, you know, the whole setup, the Eversolo A6 Streamer with the AMP-F2 did not sound like it was out of its depth at all, or indeed in the shade of the more expensive Wharfedales. So, three things that I really loved about this amplifier. One is that it separates everything out beautifully. I would say when we ran it in the mono mode, the difference at normal listening levels, I would say, wasn't really noticeable, but if you had maybe a particularly difficult pair of speakers, that would then perhaps show the performance gain of bridging these mono. Secondly, I like the tonal presentation. Now, we used it with the Master Edition A6, which, as we know, has the improved op amps and also a better master clock than the standard A6. And again, from our previous comparison videos, the A6 Master Edition, in my opinion, was more refined and offered just a little bit more in terms of separation, scale and dynamics. So running that directly into the AMP-F2, this is a great pairing. We ran it fully balanced, and both devices are true balanced devices, not pseudo. There are devices out there that have balanced inputs or outputs, but they are not a true balanced device. If you want to research that further, there's lots of resources that you can find through a Google search that will provide you what true balanced and pseudo balanced actually is. But true balanced is the real deal. It is the way by which you will maximize the potential of these two devices together. And listen, as a two-box system, this is great. I am actually surprised at how far, and in fact, let me rephrase that, I'm surprised at the performance level that can be achieved from two relatively inexpensive. In audiophile terms, listen, these are expensive and everything is, you know, all relative, but in true audiophile terms, these would be classed as almost entry level. But I am genuinely surprised at the refinement, the actual overall quality of the sound presentation that these devices, when combined, bring together. We've supplied a few of these to clients that aren't using Eversolo, and the feedback has still been great. So clearly a very versatile device. Anyway, the third thing that I love about the amplifier is it is deathly quiet. The blacks are inky black. I like the fact that you can crank up the volume for no obvious distortion. I like how it looks. I think these two units together look really, really nice. The aesthetics have been properly thought out by Eversolo, and you know, they just can't put a foot wrong at the moment. So literally another great device from Eversolo. They have pulled the proverbial rabbit from the hat once more, and the value for money aspect of this cannot be overlooked or indeed overstated. It is incredible value for money. It provides you with something that quite honestly, 10 years ago would have cost you potentially 4 or 5 times as much. The fact that 10 years forward we have a device that costs less than maybe an equivalent performing device would have then is just remarkable. And this is where Eversolo again have to be commended with their goal to providing you, the audiophile, with the best sounding products at the most attractive of prices. And currently, in terms of price performance, there aren't really any serious competitors, in my opinion, that will give you the complete package, both in terms of build, sound, ease of use. And within ease of use, I would use the fact that the Eversolo app is incredibly easy to use and it sounds great. In my opinion, it sounds better on its own app than, say, perhaps using Roon, which also is a Roon endpoint, as many of you will already know if you have these devices. But anyway, the AMP-F2, fantastic addition to the Eversolo range. We have these physically in stock, so if you have a desire to add one of these, I promise you, you will not regret doing it. But to put my money where my mouth is on this subject, we will at Elite Audio give you a 30-day no risk money back guarantee, so you can get one at home, try it out properly. It will need burn-in, hours needed around 300 hours to get the best out of it. So one of the conditions of the 30-day agreement is that you persevere with the burn-in process, because ultimately it's a bit like taking a cake out of the oven when it's half baked and thinking, oh, this doesn't taste very good. Burn-in is a very similar principle. You have to persevere with it. It's a total pain in the backside, but it's one of those things that when you get something brand new, you've just kind of got to get on with it. Get your favourite album on repeat play, or just let it randomly go on to radio so it plays through a selection of tracks to get it out of the way. But once that is done, you will not be disappointed with what this amplifier does. So to recap, beautifully made, just an astonishing sound for the price of it. I genuinely can't get over how good this sounds. And I've sat for a few hours now listening to this, playing album after album, and it just never fails to impress. You never feel you're being shortchanged in any aspect of it. And this, there's many, I think there's a lot of people out there that have got mixed views on Class D. I'm not one of them. If you look at the German company MBL, whose product range is exceptionally expensive, their mid-range Noble line range of products are all Class D based, and they cost £13,000 and upwards for their amplification. So, Class D has come of age to a certain extent. Some of the early Class D devices perhaps weren't quite so impressive, but this certainly doesn't fall into that category. So I think anybody that buys one of these is making a very assured and sound purchase. If that is your budget, I don't think there's anything better out there right now for that level of spend. Now, we can then bring into the equation pre-owned devices which may fall into that category. However, what I will say is this: the robustness, the warranty and all the security that goes with these, and the fact if you're integrating it into an existing Eversolo source situation with an A6 standard or master, or even the A8, you've got perfect synergy, perfect impedance matching, And that's very, very important in maximizing the sound potential of your system. So there you go, huge recommendation from us. It gets an outstanding product award immediately because of the price and performance ratio and the build quality. There's no corners being cut in putting this device together, as you will find out if you're lucky enough to buy one and put it into your system. What's stopping you? Honestly, it is great. You will love it if you heard it. Now, moving on to this part in the video where I ask for a huge favour. As always, if you're enjoying the video content, and we have some great videos coming up, we've got the fresh from the manufacturer, you've probably seen it in the press recently, the HiFi Rose RA280, which takes less of a steampunk design philosophy than the original RA180, which kind of polarised opinions. It was a Marmite device, you either loved it or you hated it. In terms of its looks, it sounded great and hugely versatile. So we have our demo unit arriving, we'll be putting it through its paces, and that will appear in a video. So, if you're enjoying these videos and you like the content and you appreciate the fact that we're trying to bring as many exciting and different things, please subscribe. It would be hugely appreciated by me and the team here at Elite Audio. We genuinely appreciate the fact that you watch our videos every week, and we can see consistently the numbers are going up, but it helps us hugely if you subscribe. So again, as I say, it takes a few seconds. If you can do that, I will be eternally grateful, and our commitment to you is we will continue weekly to provide you with interesting videos, with interesting content on interesting products. The last thing is, as you may have noticed, we are exhibiting at the Bristol HiFi show this month. I'll bring all the details up on screen. In the video description below, you will find exactly where we are and also how you can book tickets for the show. We have an incredible Electrcompaniet setup with a UK exclusive of the AW300M monos, and we've got them here now, and I am honestly blown away with their performance. They are incredible. I mean, they really are phenomenal. We've also now taken delivery of the Revival Audio Atlanti 4s, another UK exclusive that you will hear at the Bristol show. You will have the K22 by Antipodes, which is their server streamer, running into the Aqua Formula XHD, and again into the Electrcompaniet EC 4.8 Mark II, into the AW300M monos, and then driving the Atlanti 4s. We'll also have the Electrcompaniet CD player, and also their new compact streaming amplifier, which will be running also a pair of Revival Audio Sprint 3s. So we'd love to meet you. Please come along and say hello to us, introduce yourself. We love to talk to people that have followed our videos, have bought from us in the past, and it's just great to meet you guys face to face. I honestly cannot wait to meet you and welcome you to our room. So as ever, please have a great week listening to music. It is such a wonderful way to relax. I personally can't listen to music enough, and one of the privileges of being involved in this business is that I get to listen to some incredible pieces of equipment, and equipment that takes me by surprise in terms of what it does for the money. And the AMP-F2 this week has certainly done that by the bucket load. It is a staggeringly good piece of music. So until next week's video, please take care. Thank you for watching this week, and I will look forward to seeing you then. Thank you.